Thank you very much, Program Director. President of SAPI, Ms. Ntato Minyuku, Executive Committee members of SAPI, Minister in the Presidency, Honorable Jeff Khadebe, Deputy Minister of COGTA, Honorable Andrew Snell, the Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Honorable Pax Tau, the representatives of the various arms of government from national, provincial, and local government, the distinguished planners here present, distinguished delegates, invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to express my sincere gratitude for the opportunity to address the delegates to the 7th Planning Africa Conference taking place this morning in Johannesburg. It is both an honor and privilege to be sharing some thoughts with so many accomplished scholars and planning practitioners about our vision for the Gauteng City region. This august occasion takes place at the time when our country is preparing itself for the much anticipated local government elections that will take place on the 3rd of August this year. These elections will give rise to new public representatives who will lead municipalities for the next 5 years, and support from all of us, including planning professionals, will go a long way in ensuring that they achieve the important task of making local government work. Let us be ready to lend a hand, especially given that planning is one of the critical tasks of municipalities. Ladies and gentlemen, urban planning and politics have a lot in common. Both fields can, when advanced by constructive visionaries, promote social well-being, but can, if or when advanced by destructive reactionaries, destroy any society. Hence, it is important to view urban planning as a potent tool that can advance sustainable development. It can contribute towards achieving our goal of creating a better life for all our people. It is against this backdrop that urban planning should not happen in a vacuum, devoid of any context. Urban planning, more than most professions in the built environment, reflects or advances the social and political aspiration of a society or the state. The colonial footprint of European empires still characterizes the planning and architecture of African cities, and our country is no exception. We in South Africa are still plagued by apartheid's spatial planning patterns, which were driven more by an evil political system than by any coherent planning philosophy. This may sound like political rhetoric to the politically immature, but it is a fact that if there is one thing that 22 years of democracy we still have to undo, it is apartheid racial spatial planning that still defines our urban landscape. Program Director, I think you will agree that the migration of a few Africans to the northern suburbs of Johannesburg or the eastern suburbs of Tshwane cannot mean that we have achieved integration as a society or an integrated urban planning scheme as professionals. Townships and other settlements for the black majority are still far from jobs and other opportunities, with the resultant high transport costs for those pursuing these opportunities. And this anomaly has to be tackled if we are to radically transform the spatial planning of our cities and towns. Your theme for this conference, which is making sense of the future, disruption and reinvention, is an interesting one and timely theme indeed, as the time for disruption, in our view, has come. The status quo cannot be allowed to persist. The old order must fall. In response to this sad legacy of apartheid, the provincial government of Gauteng has adopted the Transformation, Modernization and Reindustrialization Program, TMR. This 10-point plan is a roadmap that directs our radical transformation efforts to change the face of the Gauteng city region and promote economic inclusion and integrated planning. The transformation of spatial planning is one of the pillars of the TMR, as the reconfiguration of our cities and towns will determine the speed at which our people will be placed closer to economic opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, there has to be a paradigm shift in as far as spatial planning is concerned. As part of transforming apartheid spatial configuration, work has already started to build integrated megacities. We are moving away from small sporadic projects to start integrated smart big cities, what we call mega projects. These cities are purposefully planned and developed so that they are completely self-sufficient. They are completely self-sufficient in providing for the housing, social amenities, and economic opportunity needs of communities. Additionally, the concept of big cities reinforces the key principles and consideration of spatial reconfiguration, township economy revitalization, and massive infrastructure investment as a means of transforming settlements and cities into productive cities that are inclusive, sustainable, and founded on the principles of good governance. Our mega projects will see mixed housing typologies and security of tenure, whilst fulfilling the principles of integrated development, radical spatial transformation, urban renewal, strengthening institutional capacity, and end-user management being developed. The units are intended to create living opportunities for poor communities in areas close to work opportunities. To this end, the provincial government of Gauteng has committed itself to providing a target of 50,000 units during this current financial year. These settlements and big cities will contribute to building the province as a Gauteng city region with equal levels of development across all 5 of its development corridors. That is the Central Corridor, which is mainly the city of Johannesburg, the Southern Corridor, which is the Vaal area, or Sidibeng area, the Eastern Corridor, which is where the city of Ekurhuleni is, the Northern Corridor, which is the city of Tshwane, and the Western Corridor, which is where the Western region is. So this corridor approach of the Gauteng government will ensure even developments across all these corridors, as well as the outcomes that are expected of the GPG's TMR strategy, which is underpinned by its 10 pillars. Program Director, the shift also allows us to address Gauteng's high in-migration patterns, which are resulting in some areas in overcrowding, mushrooming of informal settlements, crime, high poverty levels, and many other social ills. I know that recently when we received a report on the quality of life survey, there were some people who were interviewed who were saying we should bring back a Group Areas Act because of the frustration of these issues. But the reality is that we don't need Group Areas Act, we need proper planning of our cities. We know that urbanization is a phenomenon that characterizes all modern cities. People are moving to cities for economic opportunities and so on, and we need to plan better for that eventuality. In Gauteng alone, we know that every year more than 250,000 people come to Gauteng. So as a result, our planning capacity must take that into account. We have an obligation, while providing human settlements, to change the face of our province and reflect a society in transition to a better future. The challenge now lies with you, the town and regional planners. You know better than most of us that there is a difference between a shelter and a home, between a squatter camp and a residential neighborhood, and that difference will be taken care by proper planning. Ladies and gentlemen, there is indeed a need for reinvention. Disruption without reinvention can only lead to chaos in its wake. The role of the urban planner, as simply the unsung hero of the built environments, needs radical transformation. Urban and regional planners must take up their rightful position at the helm of the built environment ship. They are the captains and pilots who should navigate this built environment ship through the stormy seas of human settlements. Planners cannot afford to be just ivory towers of intellectual postulations and theoretical idealism. Planners should be activists and advocates of a better living environment for all. They should be prepared to constructively challenge and engage both government and developers in their pursuit of a humane, human settlement environment for all our people. Only then, when their voices can be heard, will the future make sense. Program Director, I want to once again take this opportunity to wish this conference well as you deal with this challenging issue before us. May you have a very successful conference. Thank you very much.